Oh boy, do I have a nice one for you guys today. I ran home. I just picked up these props literally 30 minutes ago to try them. This is the prop. So I first saw this prop. This is the GemFan. I don't even, what's the measurement? 5152 they're calling it. This is from GemFan. I saw a picture of this I think a week and a half ago, and this is when I saw it I thought, wow, that is almost exactly what I was always thinking of, which would be the perfect prop. Now of course it's not perfect, nothing's perfect, but damn is this prop close. So I haven't flown it yet, but I'm gonna show you basically about the prop. So it's the GemFan prop, and I weighed it. It weighs 5 grams, exactly 5 grams, and it is 1 gram lighter than the Racecraft prop. Okay, so about the Racecraft prop. Ever since the Racecraft prop came out, this one, the 5051, companies have generally started to realize that they need to design props kind of sort of like this. And Sage Thayer, which is the designer of the Racecraft props, he came up with this design. It's a very logical design, but he used a lot of software and analysis to make this design. Basically, it has a big scoop in the middle. It's got a taper to the blade because when you're going at high speed, high RPMs, you want this big scoop in the middle to take over, and then you need a low drag, like outer bit for it to not give you drag, so the center can actually do its job. So ever since they did that, companies have been basically making props kind of based around this. I don't know if they've been copying it or not, but I mean, when I put this GemFan prop over the Racecraft prop, I don't know if they copied it, but damn is that pretty close. That is a really freaking close profile. And I was actually talking to Sage the past week, and I saw one of his prop designs recently that these little winglets on the Racecraft prop are curved up, and he actually is now going to be curving them down. And that actually makes sense. You see on the GemFan prop that they're curved down. It makes sense because we're flying forward, so all the wind is going past it, so the vortex is coming down and off the prop, not up and away from the prop, which is kind of sort of what I thought when I was kind of thinking of the vortexes coming off the blade. But GemFan was kind of the first to implement this. Sage does have several designs with this downward facing tip. Actually, no, GemFan was not the first to implement this. Sage is also working with Furious, and Furious actually made the quad blade that he designed, although they kind of screwed up with the material and just generally the production of it, so it didn't really work out as intended, as the computer predicted it would. But it was the first prop I ever used that had that downward tip. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out so great, so I couldn't really test it. But this is the next prop. This is the second prop that has this downward facing tip, and actually GemFan is saying that they're gonna patent this downward tips and try to go after people that use it. But I mean, honestly, they were not the first people to come up with this. Sage had designs with this downward facing tip months ago, so it's ridiculous that they're even going to consider that. Anyways, you look at the scoop on this prop, and it kind of looks like it actually is 5.2 pitch. Is it? Yeah, it kind of does actually look like it's 5.2 pitch. I don't actually know if it is, but the Racecraft prop is not 5.2 pitch. It's a 5.1 advance ratio, which is kind of a more complicated thing than a pitch, but basically it's more like a 4.2 or 4.5 actual pitch. And I don't know if they're doing the same naming scheme on this prop, but when I compare the scoops of both blades, let's see now, the Racecraft blade actually looks more aggressive. Here, these are side by side. The Racecraft blade is actually more aggressive than GemFan blade. So it's definitely not a 5.2 pitch, whatever it is. It's probably more like 4.2 or maybe even 4. I don't know. It's just a really thick, meaty scoop. Anyways, let's look at its properties. So they do have a big, nice scoop in the middle, which is kind of what you need for this kind of racing class. And then the main difference between this and the Racecraft prop is that the taper on the blade is different. So the taper on this blade is more gradual, and it's more of a sloping pattern. So I actually think it's going to have a much smoother throttle onset, and it tapers out really nicely, but it doesn't taper off too quickly. So I think it's going to have really good low down, not a lot, but it's going to have enough of like thrust generation low down to give you good control and good management. It does have this vortex, and it is downward facing, so it's going to be much more efficient than it should be. And it's going to be pretty quiet. I think it's going to be a really quiet prop. I think it's going to be a really smooth throttle, and I think it's going to perform great because it's 5 grams. It's 1.2 grams lighter than the Racecraft prop, so it will have much better response, and it is also a racecraft kind of style prop, in which what I mean by that is that the meat of the prop is in the center, and then the outer bits are much lighter, so it should have low rotational inertia. I think it's going to have not the best control, but better control than the racecraft prop, and I think the throttle like onset is not going to be so dramatic like the racecraft prop, not that linear. It's going to have the majority of its kind of punch probably in the 40 to 60% range is my best guess. And I think at the top high RPMs, it'll keep going. I think the prop is actually going to be best on like exactly 2400 kV, and it's definitely for a medium weight build. This prop is probably not going to be going on super light builds because it does weigh 5 grams. That's just a little bit too much for super lights. And super lights, which is not really a full class yet, but it's going to become a class very soon. I'm going to make it a class if it's not. They will need much lighter props, and maybe probably more like twin blades or anything else. All right, anyways, let's fly it and see how it is. GemFan has won. This is the best racing prop that I have ever flown by a long shot. It is exactly how I expected it to fly. It performs exactly how I expected it to perform. If I would do anything to change this prop, I would want it to be a little bit lighter, so it'd have a little bit better response. But for the most part, this prop is freaking awesome. I think I might actually use it for acro as well. If I ever use the Emax 2306 motors, the 2400 kV, I think this prop is going to be perfect for that. It is not. It's an efficient prop, but it is not like, it definitely pulls a lot of amps. It definitely pulls a lot of amps, especially when you get high up on the RPMs and the kV, but it is not crazy like the ridiculous HQ 5x45 square tip bullnose thing, and even the Dahl square tip bullnose thing that I recently tested. It's a little bit more efficient than those two. The control is similar to the Racecraft 5051, but it is better at the lower throttle range, which is where I don't like the control of the 5051. It just generally has poor control at low throttle. So this has pretty good control at low throttle, and it does go really, really fast. I think there's one prop that's actually faster than this, but it does go really, really fast, similar to the Racecraft blade. It definitely pulls a ton of amps. I saw 139.9 amps out of my OSD, and that's what I expected. It's not like a crazy efficient prop, but it doesn't feel like my battery is topping out when I fly this blade. It feels like I can actually go and make it to the top end of the range. These are 25, 22 kV motors. They're 2206, they're Brother Hobby ones, so they're really meaty motors. And I feel like I can actually make it to the top end of the throttle range, and it actually keeps going and keeps working. So the throttle has a lot of punch down low, not a lot. It has medium punch down low, but it has good mid throttle punch. And then once you get to the higher throttle range, it doesn't taper off like the Cyclone blade or pretty much every other blade there is. The flex profile of this prop, which I didn't go over before, is actually not what I would like it to be. It's actually a full smooth curve, but the prop in general is very, very tough. It's a very hard material. I'm pretty sure it's polycarbonate. I mean, it is definitely polycarbonate, but it's much stiffer than most other polycarbonate prop. When I compare it to the racecraft prop, the racecraft prop is actually much stiffer, but then again, it also does weigh an extra gram and 2/10, so it probably has a lot more meat in the center. The racecraft prop actually does have the flex profile that I look for, which again, I have no idea if that matters. But lately I'm thinking that the flex profile that I look for so much actually doesn't matter that much. And yeah, whatever magic they've put in this prop, it's freaking fantastic. It's excellent. You should definitely pick up this prop for racing. It has very high durability. I'm very comfortable recommending this right now. This is definitely the king of the race blades. I am very comfortable saying that, and you should definitely try this prop. It's really superb. The noise profile is also good. It's not a very loud prop. It's pretty quiet.